Hello, you're welcome to today's episode of Chronicles of a Nigerian Woman. My name is Fagbeja, and today I'll be sharing Ivie's story. I'm not so proud of myself for the story I'm about to share, but it is what it is. And I'm talking about it to let people know about the struggles of being unmarried and why some people take certain steps. I am 54 years old and I have never been married. I come from a family of 5 kids, 4 girls and 1 boy. I am the first child. My parents were both PhD holders and lecturers in the University of Benin, from where they retired as professors. Growing up, I was under a lot of pressure to excel in my academics. My parents did not condone failure at all, and I could not imagine going home with an average result, let alone a bad one. I was always in the top 3 throughout my primary and secondary schools. Being firstborn, my parents expected me to set an example for my siblings in every way. We had a very strict schedule, watched little TV, and spent most of our time reading literary books, which we had to review to our dad. I didn't really feel like I was missing out on anything. It was just our family's way of life. As I got into the university, my sights were set on getting a PhD. Boys were the last thing on my mind. I was more of a loner, and since I stayed at home anyway, I didn't interact much with my peers. I had a very poor social life. It wasn't like my parents didn't allow me, but I enjoyed my personal space. My younger sisters, Uzezi, the second child, and Ehi, the 4th child, were varying degrees of extroverts. They insisted on staying in the hostel from their first year. They were smart too, but I was the bookworm of the family. In my final year, I had a few male interests, but I still had a long way to go with my education and wasn't ready for relationships yet. As far as I was concerned, relationships were a path to marriage and I was not ready for marriage, so I turned them down. I was 21 then. Over the next few years, I threw myself even more into my studies. After I completed my master's, I got a position in the University of Abuja. When I was 28, my mom started to express worry about me and my romantic life. Uzezi was 26 and we were planning for her wedding. I wasn't bothered. I felt I would get married when I was ready. I also got admitted to an American university to teach while I ran my PhD, so I left Nigeria. And time rolled by. I came home to attend Ehi's wedding about 4 years after I left. I was 32 then and had just finished my PhD. 2 years later, Esosa, my brother, who was the 3rd child, also got married. It was when I came home for his wedding that I started to feel a bit dissatisfied with my romantic life. But the full import dawned on me when my last sister, Osa, got married. I was 39 at this time and I had never even been in a relationship. That trip awakened my desire to get married and, more pertinently, to have a child of my own. I left for the US determined to do something about it. In the university in the US where I taught, there was a Nigerian professor who also happened to be from Edo. He had been inviting me to join the Association of Edo People, but I had always refused. When I got back, I decided to become a part of it so that I could start interacting with people a bit more. I wasn't really open to relationships with foreigners, and I was hopeful that I would meet someone at the association. I became actively involved and even became the treasurer of the association within 2 years. But I did not meet anyone of interest until about 3 years later. I was 43 when I met Johnson. He wasn't much in the looks department, but he was very intelligent and charming. He had just moved from another state and had many ideas on how we could move our chapter of the association forward. So he interacted a lot with the executives, and that was how I got to know him. I was attracted to him from the first time I heard him talk, and we seemed to hit it off. We started to talk a lot, at first about the association, but within a few weeks, we had become friends. He was a little older than me. I liked him a lot. The only problem was that he was married. He invited me to his home to meet his family, and I met his wife, Peace, a lovely, unassuming lady. She wasn't Edo, so she didn't get involved in the association. I became a friend of the family. Within a few months, I had developed deep feelings for Johnson, and about 6 months after we first met, I started my first romantic relationship ever with a married man. It was wrong, but I had grown to love him. The bubble burst when I got pregnant about a year later. He was devastated about hurting his wife, and I felt very bad about betraying her trust too. But I wasn't going to destroy my only chance of having my own child, so I had the baby. Johnson and I called it off, but he supports his son. His family in Nigeria have accepted Osari as Johnson's son, his first son, and by culture, his heir. Like I said, I'm not proud of my actions, but I took a chance on love. I have a son now, and I only date casually because the only man I've ever loved is married to someone else. Please share your thoughts about Ivie's story in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and to turn on that notification bell so you never miss any of my stories.